You're muted.
Good morning and good morning and good morning again. She just told me yes, and she is correct. Good morning. I'm Dr. Helen. I am the author of Where You Are, Just Where You Are, the Accelerated Healing Detox Bootcamp. I'm very happy to be here with you today. I usually say I'm excited, but I'm excited. I'm happy. I'm all of those good things. I'm so excited that you are here today, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, learning about this great topic that we have for you in store today. I am the host of both the Accelerated Healing Detox Bootcamp as well as the Faith Building Bootcamp. We build our faith every morning at 6 a.m. Central Time and our health every morning at 8 a.m. Central Time. So if you have been with us from the time that we started, because now we're on day 38, I don't know, I mean, like, it's unbelievable to me, day 38. And so, if you have been with us from day one, day two, or day 38, we're very excited. And there are people who may be joining us even on day one. But if that is you, you're joining us on day one, welcome. If you're joining us on day two, welcome back. And if you're joining us on day 38, I have just got to say hats off to you because you are still here, day 38 of our Accelerated Healing Detox Bootcamp. Just 2 more days left. I can't believe how quickly time goes by. It is just swimming. It is swimming. So, guys, we have a very great topic for you today because we're always talking about food, right? And so before we get into that, though, I would just like to share just my favorite husband's music. His name is John Stoddard. He's my only husband too, but he's my favorite. And so we got a song that I'd like to share with you. 45 seconds. It's called Ooh Child. Here we go.
Ooh, child, things are gonna get easier. Ooh, child, things will get brighter. Ooh, child, things are gonna get easier. Ooh, child, things will get brighter. Someday, we'll put it together and we'll get it all done. Someday, when your head is much lighter.
Ooh, child. Ooh, child. Ooh, child. Isn't that something else? Ooh, child, it's going to get easier. Sometimes we don't think it is, but it's going to get easier, especially as we get to the end of our Accelerated Healing Detox Bootcamp. We've just learned so much. So many things have happened. We've learned all about these different types of foods and all of the things that are good for us and all the things we should avoid. This has just been an educational phenomenon that has been going on over these last 38 days and into 40 days, and I sure hope that this information has been super helpful for you. We are at day 38. As we said, we are sharing some pictures. That I think this is our last day to share pictures of foods that you may have made from these recipes that we provided for you. I've gotten so much good feedback on how much people love the way the food tastes and the way that it looks. And so we've been just sharing. We got like tacos, and we have like made with lettuce wraps. She's putting all these wonderful things in it. Tomato soup. She's got her take on it with like oregano kinds of flavors in there. Some delicious salads. We're seeing like some like this really like huge salad bar that one of our other people sent in us. She's got everything cut up all nicely and beautifully, putting everything together, making really beautiful salads in there. We've got some really like this is like egg salad an egg salad replacement. Like this is look really tasty. Doesn't that look like egg salad? Isn't that fabulous? So she's got that in there. Here is like a spring roll salad. This one's got like these rice noodles, and it's got cauliflower. I'm sorry, not cauliflower. I think she has Brussels sprouts and cabbage and carrots and red leaf lettuce and all kinds of things in there with almonds and sesame seeds and this wonderful dressing of the peanut dressing, the quote unquote peanut dressing. Here we got like a zucchini pasta. Isn't that pretty fabulous? That's pretty good. And then we just all of these fabulous foods that people are sharing to show how creative that you can be when you know parameters that you are working in. You can still like make sure you're eating yummy for your tummy food, but also good for your health food, because we believe in letting food be our medicine so that medicine doesn't have to be our food. How about that? Here's our disclaimer. I am a board certified physician. I have been practicing medicine for more than 28 years. I was dually trained in both internal medicine and physical medicine and rehabilitation at Johns Hopkins and Sinai Hospital in Baltimore, Maryland. I also did my fellowship training in intervention, I'm sorry, in Baltimore as well, but in sports medicine and non-surgical orthopedics. And then my additional training in interventional pain procedures, which I'd been practicing for the last 14 years. And then while I was in my own practice practicing interventional pain, I started integrating my practice and putting in lifestyle changes for people. And I just noticed that when I did these lifestyle changes, people had less pain, their blood pressures were better, their blood sugars went down, they were walking better, they just felt better, they had better clarity, they were feeling much better than when they were continuing on the way that they were on the typical American diet. So I learned from that time, actually I already knew that it was very powerful at lowering blood pressures, blood sugars, lower your cholesterol, decreasing the inflammation that causes pain. I was always doing injections in people's backs or their knees for arthritis or their shoulders or the carpal tunnel, all those different kinds of things. I was doing all these peripheral joints, peripheral procedures, and axial procedures, meaning back and back pain, and just all around the neck, because people just had a lot of pain. And just when they started changing it and changing their lifestyle, and I taught them different things to do, they just started needing less procedures, which I thought was pretty fabulous. And I was able to help many people avoid surgery, which was also very fabulous. Because if you can get rid of the inflammation, that's why people have the surgery in the first place, is because of the inflammation. So this information is very powerful at lowering those parameters. It is, however, because it is so powerful at lowering these parameters, it is important that you stay in contact with your primary provider, because your medications might need to be changed, altered, or even discontinued. And they would be the ones there to know what they are. You should go to your doctor and say, hey, I decided to change my diet. I'm not going to be eating all the way that I used to eat with all these animal products. I'm going to be eating a lot more fruits and a lot more vegetables. So I think my medication may need to be monitored a little bit closer. And your doctor can work with you to help you and to follow you and make sure that your blood sugar doesn't go too low or your blood pressure doesn't go too low, so that we don't get into dangerous levels. So this information is for educational purposes only. And so I want to make sure that you are well taken care of, because that's what we do here. So we're talking, continuing on, an ounce of prevention. And one of our guests out there wanted to know about egg replacers. And I said, yes, we're going to talk about egg replacers. And so we are talking about egg replacers today. We're going to talk about eggs. We're going to talk about the substitutes. We're going to give a little bit of nutritional information, what to use, when to use it, and how to use it. So I hope this is going to be very, very, very helpful for you as we continue on in our series on an ounce of prevention. You know, eggs is like a staple ingredient. Like, everybody uses eggs. You use it for muffins and omelets and cakes and cookies and pies and all kinds of different things, because eggs are used mostly to add moisture to your dish, or it's used to add like binding to your dish, and to just add like the substance to it and providing the structure, especially when you're baking items. And so people who may have allergies to eggs, or because they may be vegan, or people who know that they're putting in all kinds of hormones and antibiotics in the chickens, and that the eggs are not as healthy, and that the eggs are causing all of these different issues in their bodies, they want to change the idea of having to use eggs. And so they want to find some substitutions for for eggs. And so today we're going to be talking about some of those substitutions, and all of the substitutions are going to be vegan substitutions. You can do all kinds of things that are not vegan, but we are going to be talking about vegan and plant-based substitutions because we know that plants offer more nutritional value. And so because the plants are going to offer more nutritional values, we're going to like investigate ways to use these plants to add not only the binding, the moisture and the structure of our foods, but we're going to be doing it because we're going to be adding in nutritional value. I always like to layer nutrition in the foods that I make so that you can rest assured that you will be having layer upon layer of nutritional value in the foods that I will cook for you. And everything has a purpose and everything has a reason. And so we're going to be doing that because we want to keep those blood pressures down. We want to keep the sugars down. We want to keep that waistline trim. We want to keep the inflammation down. You're tired of your knees hurting. I mean, it's just like back pain. And you'll notice that even when there's less inflammation in your body, even if you injure yourself, you'll go through the normal process of inflammation, but it doesn't go into the chronic phase. Remember, the acute phase of inflammation is natural. It's to help you recover. But that chronic inflammation is where the problem comes. So you'll notice that even injuries will get better faster when there's less inflammation in your body. Love that about it. So let's talk about number one. This is probably one that I use a lot. And I use it in applications where, like, obviously you can put it in like banana nut bread. I can use it in things like pancakes. I can use it in cakes. And sometimes I'll even layer the banana because the banana is going to add moisture, does add a little bit of sweetness, and doesn't really, you'd be surprised, doesn't really add a lot of banana flavor unless it's something that's a really intricate something, but you can kind of hide it. So if I make a carrot cake, for instance, I can use banana as a binder, and I'll use also something else that I'll tell you about down the line, but I'll use these things as binders, and this adds a lot of moisture to it and will make your item that you're cooking or baking just turn out much better. And so the way that you would use this is to replace one egg, you would use a quarter cup of a mashed banana. So like you want to use it in things like quick breads or muffins or cakes or things like that. You want your banana to be ripe, but and making sure that if it does provide a banana flavor, that it won't be off-putting for whatever that dish is that you are making. And so you want to do that. So a half a cup is probably like a half of a medium-sized banana, and you just make sure. I use like a mixer. Like I want mine to be smooth when I put it in before I make whatever it is I'm making. So I make it smooth, and then I do like one egg for 1/4 cup of mashed banana. So really good stuff. This one, number two, I like to use in cheesecakes, and like maybe if I'm doing like a dense pie, like a sweet potato pie or something like that. Maybe some of the muffins, I want it to be it's a little bit denser. So I'll use silken tofu, and so a 1/4 cup of the silken tofu you'll beat and make it smooth, and then you'll replace a 1/4 cup per egg that's required in the recipe. And you just whirl that silken tofu in a blender and add a little bit of water until it's smooth, and then you'll use that as your replacer. Really good in pies, good in quick breads, muffins, and dense cakes. It can be a little bit heavy, so cheesecakes are really good because cheesecakes are just heavy anyway. You can use it in pound cakes as well, and you can avoid using the multiple eggs that these recipes are calling for, like multiple cholesterol elevations. Like we don't want to do that. And so we did. Have you ever like gone to a restaurant and everything on the menu like was so fatty and so like so high in sugar and stuff? You can just you can go order on the menu and say, I'd like 1 order of diabetes, 2 of heart attacks, and maybe a little bit of arthritis to go, please. And so we do that unknowingly, that all of these things are happening in our foods when we're consuming it, because it's got so much fat, so much sugar, and so much salt, which is called the bliss point. That's when you have just the right amount of sugar, just the right amount of salt, and just the right amount of fat, so that people want to keep eating it over and over again. That's called the bliss point. And that's actually a scientifically done thing. That's what they do to the food to make you want to keep eating more and more of it. So we know the game, and so we're trying to avoid that, and we're going to make our own things, and make it in such a way that we don't have to feel guilty about eating these things. Some people are like, if it just takes so much time. Yeah, yeah. Sick takes even more time. So I like to use the time in the kitchen so that I can avoid the time in the hospital. So here we talk about number 3. We'll talk about ground flax seeds. Now, I'm sorry, this is ground chia seeds. I should have said chia seeds. These are chia seeds. Now, chia seeds, you can combine 1 tablespoon of chia seeds with 3 tablespoons of water, and it'll make this like a thick gelatinous kind of mixture. You probably have seen it if you've made chia pudding. You can see that the chia is going to make the food a little bit thicker than your. That's why I told you when we were making our smoothies, don't mix your chia seeds in the blender. Mix them in after you're finished and drink it right away, because the chia seeds are gonna naturally make it swell up and get thicker, and so it'll be kind of tough to drink. I don't really like it that way. I like for my smoothies to go down easily. So I want to drink it pretty quickly so that I will know what is going on with my smoothie. And so you'll do 1 tablespoon to 3 tablespoons of water. It works best in like baked goods. You have to kind of sit it for a few minutes so it can thicken up before you add it to your recipes. And so it'll kind of add like an earthy flavor to it. So you want to make sure you're doing it in like earthy things. So you might want to do it in like the like carrot cakes, or like gingerbread or something like that, where you that those things are a little bit more dense anyway. And so you can use it for those. You can put it in cookie recipes that call for eggs. And so that will work out very well. Thank you, Amanda. She's so good. She put chia seeds over the ground. So, we're talking about chia seeds and not flax seeds. So now we're talking about flax seeds. These are ground flax seeds. I don't like to buy ground flax seeds because, you just start losing its nutritional value. I like to grind mine fresh, and it's very easy to just put it in your high-speed blender and just grind it up, and then you can use it that way. Some people have like a smaller container, like a NutriBullet or something like that, and you can put it in there and just grind it up. It like takes seconds, and you got some ground, and you're actually spending less money because the ground one costs more than the regular flax seeds. You can get the flax seeds in bulk and pay even less for it. And so you just grind it up really quickly and then use it in your food. And it's pretty much the same as you would with chia seeds. You use 1 tablespoon of ground flax seeds with 3 tablespoons of water, and make that mixture. You don't have to let it sit quite as long, but what I do like to do is I like to use the hand mixer or my stand mixer or whatever, and beat the flax seeds, and as you beat it, it'll have like that thick eggy kind of consistency that you're looking for before you start adding your other things in there. And it does a great job in things just like dense cakes and pies and cookies and things like that that you want to have it bind the thing, and it'll turn, the color will be a little bit darker, but just very slightly because of the flax seeds. So I'd like to hide it in things, if I'm going to make chocolate chip cookies and I need a binder in it for some reason. I don't always put binders in my chocolate chip cookies anyway, because it seems to work very well by itself, but I will use that to make sure that I'm getting the binding that it needs. At the next one, number 5, is applesauce. Now, there's like a kind of a long drawn out way of doing applesauce. Like you can take applesauce and you can, quarter the applesauce, take out the core and the seeds, and then slice and put them in a stock pot and simmer it and let it steam until it becomes soft and mushy. And then you can take the apples and then strain them into a bowl and then have fresh applesauce. Yeah, I don't do all that. Like, to me, that's just way too much. And because I'm trying to, like, I love being in the kitchen, but I don't want to be in the kitchen all day. I want to like shorten the amount of time that I have to do anything. So here's one of my hacks. What I will do is I will take an apple and wash it very well. I do not peel the apple because I want the fiber. So I don't peel it like they traditionally do when they peel the apple and all that, core it and all that kind of stuff. I don't peel it. I want the skin on it. So I want to make sure it's washed. I want to make sure it doesn't have organopeel on it, right? I'm trying to make sure that I avoid products with organopeel and edapeel, which is that coating that we talked about that is placed on food from the appeal company, that they are putting on all of these different fruits and vegetables, that this coat that you can't even wash off. So I'm trying to make sure that's not on there. So I'm getting my organic apples without organopeel. We've talked about the stores where you can find these products. that you can avoid the organic peel. So I'm getting that, cleaning. I still wash my apples. I still wash them off. And then I will just cut it in fours and just take the core out of it, or I'll use my core and just pull the core out of it. And I will just take the whole apple and put it in the blender. Put it in the blender and let my high-speed blender make it into applesauce by itself before I add anything else to it. So what do you do? How do you use it? A quarter of a cup of applesauce is, it can work like an egg replacer in baking like dense goods like brownies. You can put it in your brownies. It'll add a lot of moisture to your cakes and your cookies. And so you can put it in cupcakes, all of these different things. And anytime you need, like, you might need like an extra half a teaspoon of baking powder with your dry ingredients to make it light and fluffy and airy. But you can use your applesauce like you would use an egg. And so the way you would do it is you would do 1 egg with 1/4 cup of applesauce. And so avoid using more than maybe a cup in any recipe, because it can start getting a little bit rubbery. So if you have to use more than a cup, then add something else to it that will also do it. You might want to, like, maybe you put a banana in it or something else that you want more moisture in it, but in more than a cup is going to be problematic. So you don't want to make it mushy. Now, I did mention you can also use this and make your pancakes out of it, and that would be good. The next thing that I use is a vegan yogurt. And I use a vegan yogurt when I'm making bagels. Guys, I make my bagels in the air fryer. I don't like fry them. Like, I'll make donuts in the air fryer. That way it's not in a lot of oil that's going to add a lot of, if you eat fat, you'll have fat. And so I use it in my air fryer, and I make like the best, and gluten-free too, bagels. And maybe I'll share that gluten-free bagel recipe in the Facebook group. If you haven't joined the Facebook group, please join our Facebook group. If you like bagels, I think that you would really enjoy this. I use vegan yogurt when I'm making my bagels. I used to love bagels, and I realized that I wasn't really able to tolerate all that gluten. And so I started fiddling with trying to make a gluten-free recipe. I was like, I got to find something so I can still eat some bagels, but not have them such, so that it doesn't really mess up my stomach. So I discovered together this really delicious bagel recipe. I do everything bagels. I do like a vegan cheese bagel. I do like a garlic bagel, blueberry bagel, all kinds of stuff that you can do with a basic recipe if you are a bagel person. And so with the yogurt, it's again a 1/4 cup of yogurt to compensate for 1 egg, and it's going to add the moisture, and that's what it does for my bagels. Sometimes bagels can kind of be dry and like not really good. This will add the moisture to it that really works out very well. And I usually like to whisk it before adding it to the recipe. So you kind of put some air in it so it'll make your items a little bit less dense and a little bit more fluffy. So we'll do that. And so it doesn't really do the leavening part like the eggs does. Like eggs will kind of help it to rise too, but you're not going to get that from this. And so you want to make sure you're using like your baking soda or baking powder or things like that, so that so it can help to leaven the food. And then so you use it in like muffins, cakes, bars, and my bagels are very good at that. And it sometimes, if you don't beat it, it can be a little bit heavy. So make sure you beat it first and work it out that way, and works out really, really nice. Now I'm going to put the next one as buttermilk, and I do a quote unquote on the buttermilk because obviously I'm not using any dairy products. I told you about the study that T. Colin Campbell did where he was giving the protein casein that is found in milk products to these rats, and every time he gave it to them, they start growing tumors. And he stopped giving them when he stopped giving them the casein, the tumor started to go away. So he gave it to them again, and the tumors grew. He took it away, the tumors started going away. So he saw that there was a direct effect of the casein that's found in milk dairy products to tumor growth. And how often do we did when I was drinking milk, I was drinking milk every single day, because it was to make my bones strong and my teeth strong. So I was drinking it every day. That's the way we grew up. So I was getting a lot of casein. I'm so glad that I found out about this tumor growth growth thing because I was like, I don't want any tumors. And so I stopped using. So mine are, this is a vegan milk. I make my own almond milk and my own oat milk. You can also do it from macadamia nuts. It doesn't take long in your high-speed blender. If you can do it in a NutriBullet. You're just going to put your nuts in there and some water, a little bit of pinch of salt, a little bit of sweetener. I put a little bit of vanilla because I like to have like a little bit of flavor in it. So but for this particular recipe, if it's going to be a sweeter recipe, then I will use my vanilla milk. If it's not going to be a sweet recipe, if I need to put it in like cornbread, for instance, I'm going to not put the vanilla in there and I'm going to just use it that way. But in order to make it like a buttermilk, all you have to do is put like a teaspoon or you just a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar in it. I use the apple cider vinegar with the mother in it, or you can just squeeze the juice of lemon in it and it'll kind of make it kind of curdly like a buttermilk. And then you can replace a quarter cup of buttermilk to help create like these really decadent and delicious brownies. And you can put it in your cornbread mixtures. You can put it in your cakes and your pies and things of that nature where buttermilk is something that you need in that recipe. So you can substitute 1/4 cup for the egg. That works out. And then, I found that when I first started doing it, I had to fiddle around with a little bit. Maybe I needed a little bit more baking powder, or maybe put a little baking soda, but not too much baking soda because you don't want the thing to taste like baking soda. So I've developed a lot of recipes that I've vetted and worked on to be able to share with people for this purpose, to be able to make sure that you can find the right way to do it so that you spend less time in the kitchen. That's really the bottom line. And so you can use it to make like pumpkin cakes and, caramel, when you want to make a caramel sauce, you can use that milk in there to make the caramel sauce. The homemade caramel sauce is like so easy. It's amazing and ridiculous. Now, these starches, you can also use starches to act as an egg. And so this arrowroot powder is one of the things. Arrowroot is actually a root vegetable, and you can use that, or even corn. You can use that, or you can even use cornstarch to actually make things a little bit light and fluffy and to make substitutions for eggs. And so fluffy baked goods like my almond cake, or maybe you can use it in like a custard or like a curd or pudding or something. You can use these things in it as a thickening agent. And the way you're going to do it is you're going to replace each egg with 2 tablespoons of arrowroot powder, and make in 3 tablespoons. The same thing with cornstarch. You just use 3 tablespoons to make it like a thickening agent in like the puddings and things like that. For your gravies, where you have to use flour to thicken your gravies, you can use a little bit of cornstarch. I always take the cornstarch and mix it in with a little bit of water first. Maybe you do like a teaspoon or a tablespoon of cornstarch and put it like a 1/4 cup of water in it. Mix it separately before I put it in my gravy, and it'll make the gravy thick without adding little lumps. And sometimes you might add flour in it and the flour will have lumps in your gravy. Well, because I don't add flour to it anymore, I will use like a thickening agent like arrowroot or non-GMO. Let's stress that, non-GMO cornstarch, because remember, most of 94% of corn has been genetically modified. And so we want to use the non-GMO version of cornstarch, and we can use that and make our thickening agents. And I use that for my gravy and other things. If I'm making like a panna cotta, I'm going to use arrowroot, and I will use like I can share those recipes. It's actually in my book, and then that's coming. And so you can use like make a panna cotta, make a blueberry panna cotta, and I just love discovering different ways that we can actually eat like really good stuff and not have to worry about eating the bad stuff with it. Another thing that you can do, number 10, is you can use apple cider vinegar and baking soda. So the combining the vinegar and the baking soda kind of makes this chemical reaction that produces like a carbon dioxide that'll put these bubbles in it, replacing the leavening that's typically that you get from eggs, and it'll produce a very light and airy baked good. And so you'll just combine 1 tablespoon of I use apple cider vinegar. You can use white vinegar, but apple cider vinegar is actually nutritious and helps to lower blood pressure, and it decreases the inflammation and can help with weight and all those kinds of things. So remember, I'm adding nutrition. White vinegar doesn't have that effect. And so I don't use white vinegar. The only reason that I use white vinegar is to clean my fruits and vegetables, but I don't use it in my food. And so we are using that one teaspoon of baking soda with that 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, and it'll replace the egg. Really, you can use this in anything that you want to have, like a light fluffy. I'll put it in my pancakes, I'll put it in cakes, I'll put it in brownies and quick breads and things like that. And it works out really, really well to make it fluff up and make it a little bit better. Because I tell you, I had some really dense pancakes. Bananas will make it like dense, but sometimes I want a dense pancake, and so I'll put bananas in it on purpose and maybe make it like a banana oat pancake or something. And you want like some really filling, you want something to stick to your ribs, you might use like, yeah, I do want it to be dense, let me do that. And so you'll use it for that. The next one, number 11, is aquafaba. And aquafaba is actually very interesting. I don't know if you guys have ever used it. If you've ever used aquafaba, put yes, I have in the chat. I would really be interested to know if you've used aquafaba before in your food applications. So aquafaba is very interesting. I used to just empty off I used to just open up a can of chickpeas, or if I was soaking my chickpeas, I would just pour off that water. But that water that comes off of the chickpeas, or the ones that you see in a can, actually whips up to like a whipped topping. It's really very interesting. It can make a whipped topping, and use it for things like meringues, right? If you like a lemon meringue pie. I remember when I was growing up, my brother's girlfriend, who I wish he had married, was was she always made us lemon meringue pies, and she would just bring pies over all the time. And when he broke up with us, I was like, what are you doing? She was probably the best choice that he ever had. Sorry, if you're out there, you know who you are. If you are out there, you know that I wanted you to be my sister-in-law. But either way, this is what she was. So, I mean, just the nicest girl. Anyway, she would bring us a lemon meringue pie, and it was made with egg. Back then we were growing up, and then we were eating eggs. Incidentally, they were different than they are now, but we were eating eggs. And I see people have used aquafaba. Yes, indeed. And so you want to use this aquafaba and whip it up. Like, you just whip it up, and it goes into like a fluffy, like, cream. It's not as stiff as a heavy cream, but you can actually put things in it to stiffen it up. Like maybe I'll have to share that. That's in the book too. But you can do like cream of tartar or something. Okay, I'll give it to you. Cream of tartar. You can put that in there. You can even use. I'm going to actually experiment with using agar. That might work too, to make it like a little stiffer. But you can actually do that and make things like, you make a sour cream pound cake or something. You might want to do that. You can actually put it in, use making your sour cream like we did with the buttermilk, but you'll use like cashews, for instance, and you'll whip up the cashews and put lemon in it, and put, just make it like it's a sour cream, and use that in a pound cake to make like a sour cream pound cake. There's just so many different things that you can do to replace the eggs and make really mouth-watering, delicious recipes. You can use this whipped topping to make meringue cookies if you want to make meringue cookies. I really never like meringue cookies, but some people might like that. But if I want to make a lemon meringue pie, I can use this as the topping for the lemon meringue pie. The other thing that we can use is egg replacer. There are companies that actually make egg replacers. There's a company called Energy that makes egg replacements. That Bob's Red Mill does an egg replacer. And then I discovered this other one called Judy's egg replacer. I haven't used that one yet, but I've used the other two. And they make an egg replacer. And basically you're only using 1 teaspoon to 2 tablespoons of water. Is it 1 or 2, 3 tablespoons? Anyway, the directions are on the back of the containers, what you do to make an egg. And so you just do that to make 1 egg. And so you can use that in your applications. Now, I find that this doesn't, like, I will use this in conjunction with other things to make it a little bit fluffier. If I'm looking for a fluffy application, if I'm not looking for a fluffy application, like if I'm making cornbread, I'll use egg replacer, but I also use apple cider vinegar and baking soda to make it a little bit lighter. And so that's one of the things that I use. Now, there's a company called Just Egg. They make egg, and they make it from mung beans, and this will make like an omelet, and it'll make scrambled eggs and things of that nature. And the one thing that I like, I don't like about this one is that it uses canola oil, and canola oil is genetically modified, so it really kind of made me mad about that. And so I didn't like that. I really wish they would change the oil and use a real oil and not a canola oil. But canola oil is so cheap, and if you look at all of the things, anything that you look at, it's got canola oil, and you got to really search to not find canola oil and things. Why? Because it's cheap, and they use it because it's cheap. And so I don't like canola oil. So I'm very careful. I have mung beans in my pantry now, and I'm about to experiment on making my own just egg. You might not be as adventurous as I am, but I really like take pride in making things as healthy as I can and still enjoy what I want to enjoy. And so I'm going to experiment with the mung beans. I've seen many, many recipes online, and they've just made it look so easy. I'm like, well, that's my motto. How hard can it be? Let's just do it. So I want to do that because it's worth it to me, because I don't want any canola oil. Number 14, you can use a vegetable oil, baking powder, and water mixture to substitute for eggs as well. And so you can use like 1.5 tablespoons of vegetable oil. I don't really use vegetable oil. This is the recipe though. 1 teaspoon of baking powder and 1.5 tablespoons of water equals 1 egg. I don't use this leavening agent. I don't use this binder because I cook oil free, because that's a whole different topic, but I cook oil free. And so I don't use this particular, but like I just gave you 13 other ones that we can use so that we don't really have to use this. But I wanted to let you know that it's out there and it's available to use. And then number 15, we can use carbonated water. And the carbonated water is already making those carbon dioxide bubbles. And so how we mix the baking soda together with the vinegar, that's what this is kind of doing, is making this carbonation to make things a little bit more fluffy. So a quarter cup of carbonated water is going to equal 1 egg to give it that fluff. Now it's not going to bind, it's going to make it fluffy. And so you'll need something to bind it up as well. So there we go. Now I just have some pictures of some things that I have used that I've either not used a binder, or that I just made it without, like this one I made with like the agua faba liquid. Sometimes I don't even use that, but all I did was I made this is tofu. This is tofu fried chicken. I did it in my air fryer. This is so good. And I took it and people were like, wow, this is really good. And it's like, it's tofu. And so you want to make your tofu texture more meaty and textury. So I'll dry it out, and I'll take the block of tofu and drain all the water off, and wrap it in paper towel, put it on a plate, put another plate on top of it, and then put like a heavy bag of rice or a cast iron skillet on top to make all the water drain out. Sometimes I'll even take that drained tofu, put it in the freezer, and it gets even denser. And then I can make the tofu. And so I just took like my seasonings. This is actually in the cookbook. I took all the seasonings and made it like it was chicken, right? I put all the flavors that I remembered chicken to taste like, and I'm not saying this is chicken, but it gives you a good satisfaction of chicken. And so I put all the flavors on there, put it in the air fryer, boom, comes out. It's absolutely delicious. I always use extra firm tofu when I'm doing this. I use extra firm. I also use the extra firm tofu to make tofu scramble. So if I want to make it like eggs or something, I will use the extra firm tofu that's also in the cookbook, and it'll have all of it'll do eggs. It'll make it look like it's eggs. And then I'll season it. And I got like this black salt in there that will make it taste that'll make it taste kind of eggy too. So I'll put that in there. And it's not a salty thing. So most times I actually end up using this and salt to make so I get the sulfur kind of eggy thing from the black salt and a little bit of seasoning. But I'll put garlic in there, and maybe even some what do you call the eggs, the onion flakes. Put some of the onion flakes in there and just really kind of make it like you want to. And I'll scramble it with tomatoes or peppers or spinach or whatever. And it makes a really good breakfast substitute or anytime substitute. And the picture that you saw there before was a fried chicken. And this is actually tofu as well. And I kind of I formed it kind of like it was chicken, and I seasoned it like it was chicken. I made a skin for it. And then I put this in the air fryer as well. You can also put it in the oven and bake it. And it came out really good and crispy. And it was a very good, satisfying thing for me to make me feel like I was, what I wanted to eat. I wanted to look like that. And so that's what I did. It was kind of fun to do it. Now, the other thing that I can use these egg replacers in is like I've used it in pancakes, and it'll make nice pancakes. They'll make it nice and fluffy and delicious. I'll make like an apple compote and put it over there. You've seen this picture before. And so I'll make like an apple compote and put it over there really good. I can do that on my biscuits as well if I needed to put eggs in my biscuits. I don't have a picture of the biscuits, but I will use that. And then the last one is a picture of a cake. And this was my this is my pecan cake. And Amanda said it looks like a cheesecake, but it's actually a cake. And I made it in my spring form pan, and it really came out really nice. It gave it a nice rise. It was nice and fluffy. So here's what you use. If you need a cake to rise or you want it light and fluffy, add vinegar and baking soda. The fizz will make it leaven. If you want to mimic like the richness of eggs, then maybe you want to use like a silken tofu or like a plain yogurt, and that'll kind of lend it like the creaminess that you're looking for. Also consider the flavor profile that you're going for. If it's dainty and delicate, or if it's like, something light, then don't use like the flax seeds and bananas, because it's going to make it more dense and it may overwhelm the flavor of that thing. You want to use something a little bit lighter. So I want you to be really creative in what you're doing. As you start working with these things, you'll find out, okay, it was easier to do that. It was easier to do this. I'm going to do this next time, etc., etc., etc. So now we have talked all about eggs, the replacements, the nutritional information. We told you what to use, when to use it, and how to use it. So if you have any questions, we got about a minute to be able to answer the questions. So if you have any questions, make sure you put it in the Q and colon format. So put it in the Q and colon format so that we'll know that that you have a question. So here's a question. Is the cookbook available yet? I'm still doing edits on it. The book is all done, but I'm doing edits so I can send it to the publisher. Now, what I am going to do is release a digital version of it as well as a book version. So it's going to take longer to get the book version back and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm going to release the digital version of it first, and then we'll have the cookbook that'll be available on Amazon for its use. Thank you so much. I'm glad that this information was helpful to you. I don't see any other questions. Were there any other questions? I don't see any. And hey, somebody says, great job, producer. Oh, thank you. That's so sweet. You're going to make me cry. Guys, I have been blessed with another year. Thank you so much for another year. And so I am going to close out now on our day 38. Sorry, I got a little distracted there. Close out on day 38. I'm so excited. Thank you for the birthday wishes. I had lots of birthday wishes this morning in our 6 a.m. session. So thank you all for the birthday wishes. I saw every last one of them, and it was so nice to be thought of. So we're ending our day 38 together. Make sure you are staying firm to all of the things that's happening today. Make sure you are following our plan with adding more antioxidants and taking away things that cause inflammation and putting in things that are not causing inflammation. I want to make sure that you are joining us every morning for the next 2 mornings at 6 a.m. on our Faith Building Bootcamp. That is Central Time on our Faith Building Bootcamp. And so we'll be meeting then tomorrow. And then we'll meet again for our Accelerated Healing Detox. Oh, look at how sweet. Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys. It has really been my pleasure to bring the information. I mean, like literally, it has really been my pleasure. So I thank you guys so much that you appreciate the information, because sometimes you're thinking like, does anybody even care? And I'm so glad that you do. And so at 6 a.m., we'll meet again for our Faith Building Bootcamp. And we'll meet for the next 2 days for that. And our Accelerated Healing Detox Bootcamp will meet at 8 a.m. for the next 2 days. Our Reverse It book and our Reverse It journal are available here and here on Amazon. And it's there, it is, and it's available on Amazon. And so we are also having our power pack that is also available at www.p the number 2whealth.com. I'm so excited to have this time together to answer your questions, to give you information. I know that I talk very fast sometimes, so please go back and look at the videos and write down your notes. Make sure you wrote down the right thing when you took your notes. And if there's something that you didn't write down, then you can go back and listen again to make sure you got it and make sure you didn't write down the wrong thing. And so listen to it as many times as you need to. And when you go back, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you share it with your family, friends, and even your enemies, because they'll be nicer if they were healthier. And so that might be beneficial for them. And so when you also go there, please make sure your notifications are on so that every time we put up a video, you'll get it. When the book is available, and you please join our email list when the book becomes available, I would like to make sure that you are notified for it, and I'll send out an email to say that the book is available. We also, remember, we have those t-shirts. We have our Reverse It t-shirts that are coming available, as well as our Faith t-shirts that are also going to be available. I'm waiting for the pictures from the company that's making the t-shirts for me so I can put it up on the website. I haven't received it yet, but I did want to update you on that, because I think that altogether we know that faith is a new currency. We know that health is a new currency, and you and me, we're spending it together, and we're spending it wisely. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time. Please join us again tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.